but you brought up a few things that I wanted to ask you about. You talked about the hostile environment, so I just wanted to ask you about any kind of discrimination you may have faced, gender discrimination, ethnicity orientation, being a feminist. What was that like for you? If you have some examples to share.
I think one of the biggest challenges for me was integrating the personal and the professional, because my partner is a psychologist, Roger Chaffin. He's a cognitive psychologist, and we finished grad school together, and we were both on the job market. And at that time, it was extremely rare for anybody to consider hiring two people. They didn't feel that they needed to, or wanted to be bothered with that, you know, and it, you know, it was felt that if you had two people in the department, well, what if they got divorced, or, you know, it was just, there was no accommodation made for couples. And we had written a marriage contract, the two of us, in our effort to recreate. We had big ideas. We were going to recreate marriage, right? Starting with us, right? And so we took a job at a small college in Iowa where we shared one post. We shared one salary.
Wow.
It was insanity because, of course, we both worked full-time plus. So they got a great deal. But for 4 years, the first 4 years after grad school, we did that because no one would take us seriously as an academic couple. He was offered a very good job at a Research One university. And he went to them and he said, you know, I'd love to take this job. My wife is finishing grad school too. Could we accommodate? And he didn't even ask for a tenure-track job or a full-time job. He just said, could my wife have access to the subject pool and an office and maybe a course to teach? And they said, no, we're hiring you. And, you know, basically it was man up. If you're not willing to leave your wife behind, we don't want you. And he turned down that job.
Wow.
And it put us on a different track, you know. So a very big theme in my life has been working with this attempt to create a truly egalitarian marriage, and to stay together and to each honor the other's professional commitment. And to do that in the division of labor at home, to do it in child raising, and to do it in our professional decision making. So I've had, I think, an arrangement that's extremely unusual. Even now. In that I have a partner who truly respects my professional involvement and is willing to make the sacrifices for it. So that cushioned a lot of sexism. Was there institutional sexism? Yeah, absolutely. You know,
can you just talk a little bit about what that looked like?
Women being started out at lower salaries. You know, at I'm not going to name names, but a department head who said to me, well, let's hire the woman for this job because we can get her a lot cheaper. The male candidate was right out of grad school too. He was just convinced she'd settle for less. You know. Discrimination in tenure and promotion. I had to start a group suit with the women at Westchester University. When I went up for promotion to full professor that year, there were 15 men and 5 women who went up for promotion to full, which just about reflected the associate professor pool. So the proportion of people applying was proportionate. that year, a third of the men and not one of the women got promoted. And so I went to the other women and called them together and said, I could see, you know, if only one of us got it. But none and a third, don't you think? And they were very afraid and reluctant. Two of them were near the ends of their careers and they didn't want to make waves, but we finally got it all together. And our union, that we paid union dues and they were supposed to be on the side of the faculty member, offered us no support at all, no support at all. So we took a state equal opportunities discrimination suit forward. And it was quite an experience because the university immediately tried to start dividing us. They took me aside and they said, how about if we promote you? And I said, you know what? It's too late for that. This is not about me. This is about women who are 2 years from retirement and they're still an associate professor. And 2 or 3 of the women were very lucky in that we had men in our department with very similar portfolios who gotten promoted. The guy in my department gave me his portfolio. Of course, all this was private. You didn't have access to other people's portfolios.
Right.
You didn't know if you truly were inadequate or if there was a double standard. So the guy in my department gave me access to his portfolio, and it was so interesting. He got promoted at exactly the same time. Our records were so comparable, except I had a few more publications than he did. But we'd done the same kinds of service, the same kinds of teaching, published in similar journals. I mean, it was incredible. And so with his portfolio, they knew I was particularly dangerous as a test case, so they took me aside, you know. But we persevered, and in the end, they settled, and they asked us what we wanted. And we said we wanted a replacement for the time that we had spent having to pursue this. All those hundreds of hours trekking to Harrisburg and appearing in court and preparing all these materials and meeting and stuff. So they gave us a kind of reduced teaching load sabbatical kind of thing. And I think we didn't take a cash settlement. And we all were promoted to full.
Fantastic.
But, you know, it was just, had we not done it collectively, nothing ever would have happened. And I think in the end they respected us for it not being about money, but being about the justice and how you spend your time as an academic. So, and it was good then because the older women got to retire at full professor level with their pension tied to that.